recorded. This will be recorded and will be posted tomorrow. So if you only catch a little piece here and there, or you have to leave for another appointment, take care of the kids, what have you, go right ahead. The full recording will be available tomorrow. Debbie, you want to kick us off?
Yep. So put in the chat what your biggest, I don't know, word is, challenge, issue is with real estate right now. If we could improve one thing, what would it be?
I can't type that much right now.
Danny, we know what your problems are.
My
You got the
God.
Debbie syndrome.
I got everything.
It's always the same answers, I think.
It is. It
Usually.
absolutely is. Lead generation, buyers and sellers.
Like the rest of the stuff, it seems like we figured it out, right?
Yeah.
I'm Chip. I'm new to the group.
Hey, Chip.
And I've had my difficulty lately has whenever I get asked the question about challenge is I don't really have any challenges. Things are going pretty well. It's a bit of a struggle, although I had a Canvas subscription for a long time, but I don't really know how to use it. So that's one of my issues. But you know, my pipeline is full. I convert. You know, every once in a while I lose, lose a listing that, you know, it doesn't convert, but everybody does. That's not really, that's just the nature of the business. So yeah, so I kind of struggle coming up with a challenge.
That's a good thing.
So Chip, what's working? Being that you don't really have challenges, what's working for you? And are you focused on the senior market, or are you in all markets?
The senior market kind of focused on me. I lived in an area that has a lot of seniors, and let's face it, you know, I'm in the 50 plus category, you know, so some of the people I know. So it's kind of found me. I didn't really focus on it, but it is the majority of my business. I, you know, a few younger people, but I don't discriminate on the youth. But what's working, I use send out cards fairly heavily, and that gives me about $40 million in my pipeline every year. You know, again, they don't all convert, but they're not all going to anyway, but at least it's something to work with. So yeah, so I that's where I get the majority of my business. I say 99%. Last year I had 2 signed calls that turned into transactions, but other than that, but it's kind of chicken or the egg, because as I meet people, I send them cards and shower them with gifts and, you know, brownies and cookies and things like that. So I also make jam in the summer, and I have a label that says, with Chip, you'll never be in a real estate jam. And that's gold. You know, I used to just give it to clients, you know, people kind of A and B list, but I've been taking it with me to listing appointments. You know, just I come in and say, here, I have a little something for you. And, you know, it really is like, it works like a charm. So, but I mean, it's authentic. I enjoy making it. And they say, oh, you made this? Yeah, I made it, you know. So in fact, I had one woman, I took her a jar of strawberry jam, and she showed me her arm. It was kind of red. And she said, I'm allergic to strawberries. As she grabbed the jar, she said, but my husband and son will like it. Then she looked me in the eye and said, I like peach. I was like, okay, I guess I'm making peach jam now too. But, and they remember, like, oh, last year I got blueberry, you know, so it's, yeah. And so I do a few pop-bys a year, pumpkins and Halloween, Thanksgiving. And I make mincemeat every year. So that's my kind of Christmas pop-by. It's a kind of on the expensive side and does take a long time to make, but it people remember it and they really value it. So, but the you know, if I had to pick the one thing, it would be the send out cards.
Awesome.
So send out cards. How do you decide who to send out cards to?
Everybody. I don't discriminate. You know, it's people I've just met, people that are, you know, past clients, sphere, everybody. In fact, at New Year's, I send out New Year's, Happy Spring, ice cream in the summer, Thanksgiving, birthday if I know when your birthday is. So at least 5 times a year, you're going to get like a group send card. And then in between, somebody posts on Facebook their cat died or their dog died or their kid won an award or whatever. They're not expected. New Year's Day, I was doing my New Year's cards. And I also farm a condo, and I normally would not have sent them all a New Year's card, but I kind of thought, I'm going to send to the condo as well. It's another, 110 cards. And exactly a week later, I got an email saying my wife and I would like to talk to you about selling our condo. So I know it was that card. So it's just, yeah. I have a list, but as I meet new people, they get added to the list.
Fantastic. What's working for everybody else and generating leads?
Get quiet.
Since this is I don't want to dominate the group, but since this is a seniors group, one contact that I made has just been pure gold. I decided to do jar openers, and a friend of mine said, they're kind of a piece of rubber in the shape of a house, and it says, I open real estate opportunities. And my friend said, nobody's going to know what that is. I said, well, some will, some won't, maybe 50-50. So I decided to do a postcard. And I asked my friend who's 94 if I could use her as a hand model to take a picture of her hand opening the jar with the jar opener. And she showed it. She lived in a retirement residence and showed it to the woman who is kind of like the manager that interviews everyone coming in. And she got in touch with me and said, I want to commend you on using Ruth in your advertising. She's 94. And I said, well, she did me a favor. And that the woman from the retirement home said, we should know each other. Why don't you come in and go on a tour and we can refer business to each other. Well, she has sent me about $15 million worth of business in, maybe 5 years. So that was not something I sought out, but, we're seniors, like that seems like a natural thing to develop a relationship with retirement homes, and I had a coach, I used to be with Brian Buffini, and he had done a video of this woman who was kind of like a sad story. She and her husband adopted a couple little girls from China. And then when they were like 2 and 3 years old, he up and left her, and she found out they were $150,000 or $200,000 in debt. She dug in her heels, did her coaching, now she's got 12 or 15 people in her team and, 6 or 7 offices and, a real success story. Well, we happen to have the same coach, and he shared with me that her success came from working with the retirement home. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing. So I'd suggest that to people to kind of develop those relationships, because when they go in to look at the retirement home, apartments, first thing that my person asks, do you have a home to sell, and do you have a realtor?
Yep. Good stuff.
Yep, that's good.
I gotta start using my send out cards. I pay them every month.
I've heard that so many times from people. It's called send out cards for a reason. It only works if you send them out.
How many do you think you do a month? Do you know?
I do about 3,000 a year, so you can do the math.
Okay, that ain't that bad.
Maybe 9 a day, something like that, an average,
Right. Pretty good.
What else are people doing that you think generates some seller leads or leads in general? So let's throw in the chat every way that you could think of to generate a seller lead. Just throw them in there.
If I could just jump in, people obviously have business. I don't think people are on this call if they don't have any business at all. So the real question is, where's your business coming from, right?
Right. And you should know where that's coming from. If you're spending money, you should know if it's working. Yeah. Jamie says she's brand new, no business at all. Well, good. We're going to help you out tonight.
Facebook?
Danny's doing 90% of his business from Facebook.
I'd love to see how that works. I haven't had much luck with that one.
Tom's doing his sphere. Donald's doing friends, past clients, third party, lead sources. Mina is new also. Fantastic. So who else got some ideas? Because I actually kind of go through this with our group locally. And so I have a complete list. And if you want to see it, we'll throw it up here.
Yeah, share your screen, Debbie. Let's see all the different options you have, because there are many.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Is my controls in the way, or can you see all the way past 22?
We could see 24.
Okay, good. Okay. So obviously expired listings, open houses. We here do advertised and non-advertised. Non-advertised can be you advertise in the MLS. Our MLS has a way that you can advertise open houses, or you might find out another agent's doing open houses and you just piggyback off of their advertised open house, however they advertised it. Believe it or not, newspaper works in some communities. Zillow, there's all kinds of for sale by owners out on Zillow. Next door, there's quite a few people on Nextdoor selling their house. LinkedIn, if you use LinkedIn, you can find them out there. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook in general, groups, for sale groups, everything related to Facebook. Danny's the expert in that end. Instagram, there's people that puts their house photos out there. Obviously driving around and finding the window signs, in our case, are yard signs or whatever you use. All the for sale by owner type groups, there's a bunch of them. If you just do for sale by owner in your area, your city, you'll find them. Google ads, I use Google ads quite a bit. Twitter, I don't use Twitter, so I'm not an expert on that. Here's our sphere of influence, our previous customers. How about attorneys, divorce attorneys, which I don't want to deal with, but it's the thing that attorneys have a lot of relationship with people that decide to do stuff. Clubs that you might belong to, if you have a Rotary or a BNI type group or any of those type clubs. Sponsor events. If I was doing a little bit younger crowd, the boys, not the Boy Scouts, but like Little League and those type things, but I don't know what kind of sponsored events you might have in your area, but think about sponsored events. They may have a shredding event somewhere. Those are popular around here. Sponsor a shredding event. Find investors. Find investor groups. Number 25, I use quite a bit. I need to get back to it, and that's market stats. There's plenty of companies out there. If you put market stat real estate postcards, you'll find probably 20 places. I'll do it for you. But that's what's sold, what's listed, and what is pending or under contract, whichever way you say it in your area. And I send it out pretty faithfully when I do it. And it's kind of like Chip said, You got to spend money to make money. And that's one way that I tend to have a good return on it, because people are curious about it. Yes, they could go to Zillow eventually and see that information, but they would have to know it's sold. I'm telling them what's sold in their neighborhood. Videos, blogs, posts about selling or upgrading ideas. You know, some of these folks that haven't sold for 50 years, like my parents. It was 53 years they were in their house before they decided to sell it. That was a nightmare. Thankfully, they had me to kind of coach them, even though they didn't want to hear it. So, testimonials, get reviews from other sellers. That's a great way. Here, one thing that's not on my list, I just remembered, is Google My Business. Needs to be on here. Make sure you got your Google My Business set up and then tie your reviews to it. How about neighbors of the open house? So doing the circle prospecting, as they say. So invite all the neighbors over an hour or two before the first open house that you do on and just list it. So circle prospecting. Car signs, name badges. Obviously, if you want business, if you wear your name badge, somebody's going to ask you about real estate eventually. Internet bots, KV Core ads, any of those type things. If you have KV Core, TikTok, real estate seminars for sellers, how to sell your house in today's world. What's changed in the last 50 years, last 10 years, whatever. Referrals from realtors outside of the area. I use the designations. I get a lot of my business from my designations. So SRES, GRI, MRP, in my case, CRS. Socializing at local town events. So, you know, an Easter egg hunt, you may sponsor that or provide a booth or something at a fair. Whatever you can think of. A lot of home shows happen in different cities. You may be able to get a booth there. So sporting events, like we talked about, Little League, that type thing, maybe senior league, I don't know, depending on your area. Obviously, word of mouth. You want to let everybody know that you're a realtor and what you're about. YouTube and videos concerning what sellers might need to know. A lot of people are doing the TikTok in that regard for what's title insurance? How does a mortgage work today? You know, it's very short, quick videos, but you can also do it in YouTube. Owners that want to rent their house. Maybe you can convince them to sell instead in today's world. There's several services out there, but RedX provides for sale by owner leads, and it is a paid service. There's a lot of them out there. I like RedX because it actually checks to make sure they're not on the do not call list. Absentee owners, second homeowners, foreign owners. So Canadians are not having a real good time with kind of conversion of money right now. So they may be in the mood to sell their homes if you can search by foreign owners. Your vendors, mortgage inspectors, movers, etc. You give them business all the time, see who they know. You know, lawn cutters, because landscapers, because they're the first ones to know they're trying to spruce up their house to be able to sell their house. One that I've looked at and still very interested in is the digital streaming. So if you do streaming, you see ads along the way. You can actually create some ads along the way for digital streaming for people that are cord cutters like me. 46 is the primary one that I do here, and that's probate. Working with estate lawyers and doing estate seminars. Why do you need a trust? Why do you need a will? Why do you need a healthcare directive, power of attorney, et cetera, and how to sell your house after you're not here. So, and then CHIP hit on one, which is the retirement homes, nursing, assisted living, etc. So is that a pretty good list? What else can we add to it?
It's a great list. I've also done seminars for the retirement home for people that haven't ever sold. We've heard of first-time buyers. I kind of think of them as last-time sellers. But you know, they've maybe never sold, like your parents, 53 years now. I have one woman who's been in her home since they built it in 1948. So that's what, 74 years. And I'm thinking this will be her year, but we'll see. But yeah, the seminars I've done with the retirement home have been very successful as well.
Yep. Anybody else have something to add to this list? And then I'll have Donald attach this to the video tomorrow. That way you can have a copy of it. What else can we add to it? Anybody? Going once. So, but we need to start thinking about it. There's lots of ways to get seller leads. We just have to do it. You know, you have to figure out what your niche is and do it. Some people don't like to cold call, so you may not like to call expired listings because they're not real happy. So it just depends on what your mood is. So what other topic can we tackle?
This might not be very popular, but I've stopped doing open houses altogether. Obviously, everyone stopped during COVID, but you know, my neighborhood, you know, my jurisdiction, my average is, you know, $1.7 to $2 million, and at that price range, people come to open house, they have an agent. If they're looking to buy, they have an agent. So I've never ever gotten one buyer lead from an open house, and we all know open houses really don't sell houses. They really give, you know, the agent a chance to fill their database. So if a client really wanted an open house, I would do it, but I tell them, you know, I'm honest about it. And most of the time they don't want it either, you know. And I said, if, you know, neighbors want to see the house, they can make an appointment and, you know, book a showing. You know, it's, people are serious, that they're the ones that we really want to accommodate. So.
Yep. Where did you say you're at?
I'm in Toronto, sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, and it really does depend on your average price.
Mhm.
Because it's the same way here. If we have, you know, a 1.5 million or whatever, most of the sellers don't want people tromping through the house and seeing what they have or getting decorating ideas, you know. So the nosy neighbor routine. So I personally don't like open houses anymore, but you know, a lot of agents, that's how they get started. And so the ones that's on here new, borrow a listing and go do an open house. Borrow a friend to show you how to do it. If you're new, you should have a sponsor and you should have a mentor. So see who can help you out to do your first open house. So do we want to try to help? I think we had 2 people that are brand new. How should they get started?
We're really in the relationship business. We're not in the house selling business. So that is like a mindset attitude that once you get that, how can I build relationships? My first listing called me. In fact, she took me out to lunch to celebrate my new career. Over lunch, talked about the fact that, you know, I'm not my forever home. I've moved around a lot. Kids always say, don't let mom finish the house. She'll want to sell it. Exactly a week later, she emailed, didn't even call, emailed me and said, I'd like you to list my house. That was my first listing.
That's great. That's a great way to get your first listing.
Yes,
Right,
but it
that's
was from a
something-
relationship that I had built. I hired her to do outdoor lighting on my house, and it was a good relationship. And then she called me about, I don't know, about 6 months before I got my license, and wanted to have a contact with a real estate agent, a brokerage. She had an idea for a program, and I gave her the name of the agent that we had used. A couple of months later, I called her and said, "Did you ever call her?" She said, "No, I didn't want to leave a message." I said, "Well, I'm getting my license. I'm probably going to be going with that brokerage." And she said, "Well, give me a call when you land. We'll have lunch." So she took me out to lunch, congratulated me. Week later called, or like I said, emailed, and she said her thinking was, she's a businesswoman, "I will get 100% of your attention and your work. I don't have to share you with anybody else." And she was right. You know, we sold her house and found her a great house to buy. So, but it was because I had built the relationship before.
Yeah, so, and the other thing I think is niche, right? If you niche, and niche can mean different things to different people. What I mean by niche is finding your area of expertise that you want to be involved in. So in my case, it's all about seniors. I live in the largest retirement community in the world. So seniors is where I focus on, and in a specific area is what I try to stay within. Oftentimes my customers take me outside of the community to other 55 plus type communities for various reasons. Too big, too expensive. I can go get something cheaper somewhere else. All those, I can get more house for the money in another 55 plus community. So some of the things you want to really, what I tell agents is to focus and become the expert in that community, in that condo association, so that they come to you as the expert for that community or for that condo association. Know everything there is to know about your community that you want to farm, right? So that to me is very important. Let people know you're a realtor. For those new agents, let everybody and their brother that you know, let them know. Get out on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, and let everybody in the world know that you're a realtor, that you are, here's my niche, here's what I focus on. You want to buy or sell in this particular area, I'm the go-to person. I'm the expert here. Get involved in their social events. Get involved in going to, and it just follows up with what Chip is saying. You want them to know when they're thinking about buying a house or selling a house, that your name is the first name that comes to mind. And it goes just hand in hand with what Chip is saying. It's all about relationship. We are in the relationship business. But if they don't know who you are, they can't build a relationship with you. They got to know who you are. So you have to go out and meet people, talk to people. It's very important to get out there. Otherwise, you're not going to make it, unfortunately. People have to know you exist, even if it's in social media. One of the things that I do, that I think I do well, is that I ask a lot of questions on social media, on Facebook, in particular Facebook groups. One of the questions I just asked this past week was, who has the best pizza in town? I've gotten hundreds of responses. Now, what I do from there is I continue the conversation with them. Well, why do you think Sammy's Pizza has the best pizza? And then I take them offline into Messenger and start communicating one-on-one instead of this group chat. And it works. It works to the point that I'm building rapport with individual people based on, and it's not always about real estate. As I said, I asked about pizza. And then there'll be times, well, what do you miss in your area that's no longer here? Right? what was, in the last 10 years, there's been several businesses go out of business. What do you miss? Somebody will say Dunkin' Donuts. Somebody will say, a restaurant. Somebody will say, we used to go to the movies here. Now the movies are closed. So there's lots of different things to ask, questions about. And then that's how you get your name out there too. They say, hey, this guy asks some good questions a couple times a week. And you don't want to do it every day, because then they know what you're doing. You do it twice a week. You get out there, you post something, and you ask about a particular community. The key thing is getting the niche as to which Facebook group you want to belong to, where you're going to get the most impact. And it should be around that community or that area that you're working or farming in.
So if you're really good at interior design, or think you're really good at decorating or any of that type of things, NAR has a staging class that you could take, and you start putting that out on Instagram with the before and after photos of staging. You'll get phone calls just because of that, because people are interested in redoing their house. And at some point they're interested in redoing their house because they're selling. But if you're into that, I know a guy in Florida, he's down in Naples. He learns every nitty gritty detail about golf courses in Naples. And he wears, and I don't know the official term, so all you golfers can laugh, but I call them knickers. The short pants with the crazy socks and the whatever. He wears that. That is his uniform, because he is the golf expert. You couldn't compete against him when somebody wants to buy a golf course. He's it. Now you talk about a specialty, but he can tell you everything you ever wanted to know plus more about golf courses. I couldn't tell you the first thing in most knickerbockers. That's the word. Anyways, but yeah, it's a niche, and you can get as specialty as you want. If you live near the water, it may be waterfront. It may be golf. It may be you want to specialize with people that's probate, like I do. Whatever it is, you got to figure out what that niche is, because the more that you know, the more that you're the expert in that specialty, and the more what I call exposure on social media that you can do, the more chance you have people say, well, if you want to know everything about the golf courses, call John. So, and then if you're with EXP, if you're not with EXP, there's tons of resources of how to get started in real estate. If you're with EXP, there's a real estate 101 every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. There's also getting started. I think there's like 14 sessions out there. What's the official word, Donald? I forgot the name of the class.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can't either, but anyways, they're out there. So engage in workplace. If you're EXP, engage in workplace. If you're not, engage on Facebook in all the real estate groups. There's tons of real estate groups for new agents. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how you learn from a new agent side. So.
Also, for new people, don't be intimidated by people who see themselves as the expert. Sometimes in a neighborhood, it will seem like, Joe Smith has all the, has it sewn up. But if you actually look at what has sold, the numbers don't really support that. And in my case, I actually used send out cards to find the house that I'm in right now. About 6 months ago, October, November, we bid on a house and lost out by $9,000. And it was the only one home in the 80 homes that sold all of last year. There's no guarantee there'll be another one this year. And I decided to send 40 send out cards to the neighborhood, saying if you're thinking of selling. Now, I knew there was another realtor in here, did not want to send her the card, but by accident, she got a card, called me and said, I've been here for 20 years. I know everybody, they all know me, and basically stay out of my area. And, but I got a call, ended up buying, an off-market home. It cost me $85 to send those cards. I saved $100,000 on the purchase. I made $50,000 on the commission. Seller saved $50,000. And it turns out the agent that had called me, her name is Karen, it's kind of funny. She's my new next door neighbor. So when I moved in here, I sent out happy spring cards to the community. Got a call from another neighbor. Oh, that was so nice of you. Thank you so much. And I popped over and knocked on her door. I'm not a door knocker, but I knocked on the door with my newsletter and brought her some jam and said, just want to put a face with the name. And she recommended to a gardener who wasn't taking any more business. Oh no, you have to take Chip on. He makes jam. Then another neighbor came across to introduce herself and said, now I know one or both of you are realtors. How she knew that, I don't know, but don't be a secret agent. Let people know. Don't assume, well, the other woman, the other person has all the business. There's enough to go around. So if you're new, don't be intimidated.
The most important thing is to answer your phone. I have been reaching out to an agent who has a listing that's over $1.1 million. And I've been trying since Sunday to get a hold of him. Answer your phone, whether it's for other agents, whether it's for your customers, it doesn't matter. Answer the phone. I can't get over how many agents don't answer their phone. It just blows me away. And then they're the ones complaining they're not getting any deals. Answer your phone. It's very simple. We all have them. Anything else that we can answer? Any questions that we can help with? That's what this session's all about. We try to do this once every 6 weeks or so, just to have something different, rather than just having a class on Canva as an example, or Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those sorts of things.
Yes. Hi, Debbie. Hi, everyone. I have a question for Debbie because she mentioned that she specializes in probate. I wanted to ask you, my sister right now, she's developing that niche, and I wanted to find out, when you're in contact with leads, do you send out a postcard or a letter before you call them up? What do you do?
So there's a training program called MTI University out of California. I highly recommend them. It's pretty reasonable. And now, after I've done it, I did mine about 5 years ago. They actually provide leads with your training. They give you the whole, what I call the package. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3. What I tell agents that I'm training locally is every situation's different, but you don't know where they're at in the process, because some of them may have a very difficult situation because they didn't do everything right, and some of them may have a very easy process. So the minute that you know something's happening, you got to jump on it, and there's very specialized letters, how to mail it out. There's certain, what I'll call envelopes, that makes it look like it's an overnight package, even though it's not. Ink pens that they tell you to include because they're going to need a blue ink pen. All these little tricks to the method, because they will get tons of people that say, I'll buy your house sight unseen, no inspections. I'll close when you want to close, but they're not going to pay them market price. And those are the investors that come out of the woodwork that want to take advantage of the probate. And so I want to look like the professional that if they get to that point where they need that realtor, I'm the one for them. Just like Donald said, you got to be the specialist. You got to be the expert of the area. And then I do recommend MTI University. Like I said, it's out of California. It's around $300. It is all pre-recorded. It is written to be very generic, that it's across the United States. I don't know about Canada, how you do it versus not, but it's definitely worth looking into. But that's how I got started. And I tell the ones that I'm training here, you never know when your next probate's coming along, because it may take them 3 months, it may take them 3 years, or anything in between. You never know when it's coming. So does that help?
Yes, it does.
How do you
you-
handle the introduction with, it's obviously a sensitive, area where, someone has experienced a death, that you don't put them off by, being somebody that's, chasing after the hearse kind of thing.
So that's the reason I like MTI, because it is a very professionally written letter that states, hey, I specialize in this. I'm not and it doesn't say this, but I'm not an ambulance chaser. So I didn't see the obituary and send you a letter. You're waiting until you know that they're entering that probate. And probate, in the state of Florida, if they're married and it's in a trust, they still have to go to court. So it's still going to show up in my court records, but it's not going to show up as probate. And those are the little things that you have to figure out. I think we lost Chip. But anyways, so yeah, I'm not an ambulance chaser, but I do send out the letters based on what they say. And Laura put the link in there. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you for sharing, Debbie.
You're very welcome. And I will tell you that it's not for the faint of heart. Like Chip said, it is a very emotional process. You cannot push. I've got one agent I'm training right now, and he was getting a little frustrated yesterday. And I said, it's not your timing, it's their timing. That's what it's about. When they are ready, not you are ready. You could say, okay, the next step that we need to do is, when are you ready? And let them decide, because they're going through the grieving process. You don't know what, there may be a family squabble behind the scenes that you have no clue about. And the executors having to play referee. So you never know what's happening. So did you hear my answer, Chip? I think you got thrown off maybe.
No, I just had to go across the room and pick something up. I heard everything you said. I was here.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. What else can we answer for anybody? Richard's being quiet. Richard, what's happening in your world? You may not be there. So. Laura, what's your best way of getting leads? You missed the beginning portion. What's your number 1, 2, 3 ways to get leads?
Well, I actually like to, if I see a new development, like I'm driving a lot. So if I'm on the highway and I notice a new development, I will actually stop, ask questions, be there, for the next day to plan a trip to see the different models, ask questions. If I see signs, I call. Those are the type of ways I normally bump into buyers at those type of preview opportunities. And that's kind of been the way that I had, I would say, at least my last 2, if not 3 people.
That is wonderful. And that's once again becoming the expert in the area. So,
So I have a question. I'm Carol. I live in the Phoenix metro area here. And I don't live in a 55 plus, but how important is that, the designation for seniors, the CRES?
SCRS.
Yeah, it's how important is that?
Well, the SRES, I equate it to working with a foreigner. You know, you have to know how to approach a 55 plus senior.
Yeah,
They're not a first time home buyer seller. They've done it before, probably several times before, but you have to know about what's the thought process. A lot of people in the villages come here and they call themselves frogs. Why did they call themselves frogs? Anybody want to guess? Donald, you can't say. Why do they call themselves frogs?
I don't know.
They're here till they croak.
Oh, God. Ah, that's bad.
It is, but that's the thought process. This is
Yeah.
my final home. I want it perfect. I want it everything new, that the roof outlasts me, that the air conditioner outlasts me, that the outlasts me. Those are the type things you learn in SRES, is the whole, what I call the emotional side, just like you learn in probate, of how to not say, okay, let's sell your house. Well, now they got to figure out how to get rid of all the stuff, right sizing, downsizing, whatever you want to call it, decluttering. The kids don't want any of the stuff. Oh my goodness, this China's worth X dollars. Well, no, not if anybody doesn't want to buy it. It's worth $0. But how do you put that in terms that doesn't offend somebody? And that's why I think SRES is a good thing to have, just from the education side.
Yeah, I just came back from Washington. My mom and dad, they're 89, 84. They sold their home. Well, they self-paid with another agent. My dad is very sharp. I had to really walk them through the process, and they declared the house on their own. But, you know, they're moving to Rio Rancho, New Mexico with my sister. But it was like, okay, Dad, you know, let's regroup, you know, and we got above asking. But I had to be a coach for my father, who's extremely, like a PhD, really smart, you know. By being there, getting the offer on the home, having showings, really helped him out. So I saw that, you know, the senior mind, and I see seniors, you just need to like, you know, care about them, you know, and if you need to repeat stuff many times, repeat it. You know, it's they've been in their home for 30 years, but still, they're, you know, they're guiding. They need our help. So that's my tidbit. But I'm thinking, do I need to get that designation? Because we have Sun City West, Sun City Grand, and Buckeye, a lot of seniors. But I'm an older mom. I can't live in a 55 plus because I have a 15-year-old son. So I'm kind of stuck, you know, just a regular neighborhood.
Well, but nobody has to know where you live.
Yeah, I know.
It's the thing that, you know, if you're 23 years old and you're trying to sell to seniors, it's a little obvious you're not a senior.
Yeah.
People don't like the word senior, 55
know.
plus. They don't like those terms. I think that we're just the most knowledgeable, mature folks on the face of the earth, and we're the richest in the world. You know,
That's true.
we got more equity in our houses than other categories does.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, take your experience with your parents, Carol,
Yeah.
and make
Thank you.
some videos, make some step-by-step. Here's, you know, how you walk through it. So when you go to a listing presentation with a senior, you say, well, you know, if you list with me, I'll help you step-by-step. And I've got 25 steps to help you through. You know, one of the realtors that showed up here a few years ago, he was getting every listing. And I said, what is he doing? So I've lost one to somebody, to, a lady took him, and I said, tell me what is more, what you like better about him. And he advertised in his listing presentation, he's a one-stop shopping. He had the estate sale under
Yeah.
his name. He had the auction license under
Yeah.
his name. He had the cleaners, blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I told Donald, I said, we work together. And I said, we've
Yeah,
got
I
all
agree.
these. We just need to advertise it. So I
Yeah.
hadn't advertised that I'm a one-stop shopping, and he won the listing. And, it hurt, but I learned from
Yeah.
it.
That's
So-
real estate, like,
Right. Yeah. But when you
between the
think
blood,
about
I
it,
return it.
we all have that option.
Yeah.
You just have to put it in your listing presentation. You're a one-stop shopping for
Yeah.
movers, cleaners, handyman, inspectors, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah,
Donald-
it's a very, very good experience. I was, there for my mom and dad. They've been great to me all these years. And the weather up there is really cold though. Northern Washington compared to Arizona, so I'm back to being my 98-degree weather.
Yep. Well, you're in the area that has a lot of 55 plus. So
Yeah.
you got to figure out one area, Sunsetty West, whatever newest areas are there, and just pick a small area and start working it. So
Yeah. Okay.
Carol, why would you not get the SRES designation? I mean, it's a few $100s in a couple of days. I see it as a good housekeeping seal of approval. For some people, it will matter. You can say, well, I'm a senior specialist, and they want to know that they're going to be looked after. So, you can have that experience from life. Like I have a lot of older friends. I have friends who are 99 and 101 and 91, and they're the top three that I can think of off the top of my head. I've always had older friends, but I just see it as a good housekeeping seal of approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it'd be a good designation for me because lots of seniors around here.
The other thing you might want to do, something I did, you might want to partner with a downsizer. Again, that one-stop shop
Okay.
idea. I have a friend, we met professionally, but we become friends, and she's a downsizer, and she was kind of complaining she didn't have a lot of business at that time. It was before COVID, and I decided I did a little card as a kind of an advertising card, and I offer $1,000 off the commission at credit at close.
Right.
If they use her as a downsizer. Well, we all know $1,000 kind of drop in the bucket.
Right.
It's a help. But seniors, people like something for free, right?
Right.
And I'm convinced.
Don't we all?
Yeah, don't we all? I'm convinced that I've gotten some of those listings because they wanted that $1,000. But it's worked out very well. And now she's just referred me somebody. She was like, I'm gonna get a referral for you, I promise. I was like, that's not why why I did it. It was to provide it. I tell them, I said, look, you can't do this at home on your own. Like, it's not possible. Even if you were 40 years younger, it's a lot of work when you're moving,
Yeah, it
especially
is.
at the end of your, let's say at the end of your
Yeah.
life, but the, later years. So it's a help, it's like a
Yeah.
coupon at the store.
Right. I'm with you.
But
Okay.
it has brought me a lot of business.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you.
And
All right,
one of the things that I tell all the buyers coming to Florida is if it's not an heirloom, an antique, irreplaceable, or your bed, leave it behind,
Love it.
because it's too expensive with gas charges, moving charges to do
Right.
it. And you
Mhm.
deserve new furniture.
Yeah. And they
But
weigh
then-
everything.
Yep. And that's it. So I tell people, get that pod, get that U-Haul pack rat type thing. And that's your parameters of what you can bring, what you can't bring.
Yeah.
And it works if you help people understand, okay, yep,
Mhm.
that's all I need.
Mhm.
They bring their golf clubs and their bicycles and they're happy. So Well, I think we're at the 8 o'clock hour, pretty
Okay.
close.
5 o'clock
this-
here.
Yep. We do this every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And each week we post what is going to be happening in the EXP Seniors Network on Workplace
Mhm.
or the Seniors Network on Facebook. If you're not in both of those groups,
Yep.
please join us. We always welcome suggestions of what you want to hear about, who you want to have speak. Set aside August 22nd. That is EXP Seniors Day.
Okay.
That we will be having a pretty much 4 to 4.5 hour full day with different speakers. That's a Monday. August 22nd, 21st is actually Seniors Day, but we didn't figure anybody wanted to work on Sunday. So we're doing it on Monday. So set that day aside in the afternoon, starting about 12 o'clock Eastern. So
Thank you.
you're very welcome. If anybody has questions, drop questions out on the Workplace or the Seniors Network.
Next week, we have a really good speaker, and it's all about marketing. So
Good.
Bernard was with us before, gave us a lot of great ideas, outside the box kind of thinker.
Yeah.
Laura, who's on this call, actually introduced us to him, and he does a fantastic class. So you don't want to miss next week.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
it's not the same class that he did before. It's part
Right.
2.
Right.
Smart.
Part 2.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Nice to meet everyone.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you next week. Have a great week.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.